Hate is the answer. Hate is the answer. It's the answer to everything that pertains to relationships, people. You can have relationships and you can know people, but as soon as there's an issue, hate is the answer. It's the answer because it doesn't pay to feel anything positive. Have you ever been in a breakout situation where you've had a difference of opinion with somebody? Maybe you get into a debate. A lot of people get into political debates, but they're not mature enough to understand what is debate and what is real. So they get upset. People get emotional. And you say things that you don't necessarily mean, but once you've said it, you can't take it back. And when you're in that situation, things break. The support between two people breaks. And then you can't fix it. So you decide to part ways. Maybe you have an argument. And it's always been the case that in my life, I've been educated. I've been taught and told as a man I need to have restraint. I need to be level-headed, stoic, mature. I need to consider people's feelings. I need to be diplomatic. Need to be careful. Need to be cautious. So when I find myself in these situations, historically, when I'm in a breakup, love goes sour, or I've had an argument with friends, excuse me, um, you try to find a middle ground. I try to think and I try to feel as they do. And the problem with finding a middle ground is you have to give up a lot of your own ground. You have to sacrifice. Relationships are all about sacrifice. I know a lot of people don't like that term. People don't like to give, right? Um, Particularly these days. They don't like it. So the idea of sacrifice is abhorrent. But it's necessary. Even as simple as a debate. You have to give ground, because if you don't give ground, what are you doing? You're just two people standing across from each other shouting. Like it's just war, right? It's stupid, pointless. So I try to give ground in the hope that they meet me halfway. But what I found is, and this is my own stupidity, you walk out, you sacrifice your defenses, and you waltz out into no man's land, into the middle, into the center, and you wave a little flag. You're like, come over here, let's have a discussion. But what happens is, they might take a step forward, but they won't move any further. So you're forced to give more ground, and then you give more ground, and then you give more ground until you're standing right beside them, and they haven't moved. So you've given way too much because you value them, you feel, and you love what you have with them. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be any kind of relationship. But most people will not give up ground. They will not meet you halfway. What they do is they retreat. And they go back into their hidey holes. And they make up stories to justify, it doesn't matter who's in the wrong, but you create your own narrative. It's like propaganda in your own head. And when you do that, when you give up ground, you're giving up more than the moment. You're giving up a piece of yourself because you don't get it back. That shit sticks. You can't fix it. They keep it forever. They keep that ground forever until eventually you're left with very little. And I've always been taught that I have to be this way, that I have to be temperate, that anger is not the answer, hate is not the answer. But I realized that hate is the answer. Why should you give up? Why should you meet the middle of the way? I mean, you look at me, I've done this my whole fucking life. And I'm still alone. I'm still getting betrayed at fucking 35 years of age by people who should know better. People who have had lives that you would associate with morality. Literal religious figures. People who are involved in realms of employment or volunteer work that you would consider to be people that would know better, people that would have empathy. It's just not the case. It really makes me wonder, is there any fucking good people in the world? Is there anybody that holds anything dear? Because the way I see it is just people doing what they want, you know? No critical thought, no critical faculties whatsoever, no consideration, just a lot of pillaging, you know? And if you leave yourself vulnerable to that, then you kind of deserve what you get. I deserve what I get. Because I was foolish enough to think that there is a purity to the world, that there's some benefit, some abstract, ethereal benefit to being good, to being diplomatic, or trying to be. I'm not saying I'm perfect. In fact, the people that I know would say that I can be quite bitter in arguments. That's fair. I can be. But I try, is the point. I try to be better. And I think and I feel about these things deeply. I care about it. Doesn't matter how an argument goes, I will go away and I will think about it. Whereas it seems that most people don't think. They don't care or consider. So I suppose it becomes a matter of survival, really. It all seems to be kind of very primal. Just funny to me because we all pretend we're so evolved, right? But if you operate on your day to day with purely instincts, doesn't that just make you an animal? If we don't have these higher faculties, like I've become aware of recently, then really we're just no good than fucking apes, right? Like society and philosophy and everything in academia, like it doesn't matter anymore, does it? In fact, I've heard some horror stories about people in academia, in philosophy and stuff, all these very enlightened people, and they just live such fucking frivolous lives, just such debauchery. It would fucking scare you, man. Couldn't believe it. I still have, because I'm not involved in academia or anything, but I kid you not, the shit I hear from people, over the years, It just makes me wonder. Just hate is the answer. Why would you ever expose yourself to people like that? It's like living in a jungle. Why don't you make yourself vulnerable to the tigers? The fucking snakes. Snakes would be better. Snakes. Surrounded by snakes. On all sides. So you must defend yourself. You have to defend yourself. Hate is the answer. Hate these people. Because they'll go through life and they won't experience consequence, not like you. They won't give a fuck. They'll forget about you in a month, if even that. They'll go from one person to the next person, and that's the way it is. That's what they do. That's what people do. So hate them. You can be involved with them, but as soon as things go sour, hate them. Fuck them. Because they'll fuck you.